Welcome to a special edition of our Pub Sports Radio. What's been MLB closing time every day at this time, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. Well, there's no baseball today. And come November, we will be doing some kind of either live or pre-recorded for stream at some point, a daily NHL show. We'll either be doing it live or we'll be doing it recorded, and then it'll broadcast and premiere on the channel later in the day. It'll be one or the other. But bottom line is we're going to have a daily NHL show of some kind in November right here on Pub Sports Radio. So call this like a little bit of a test drive, impromptu test drive of the show. It's called the NHL Line Shift. I figured, you know what, a good name for this show, because guess what? You have 4 forward lines. They have about 30-second, 45-second shifts on the ice, and then they change and the next line comes out. Well, line shift can be applied to betting as well, right? Shift in the line. So a perfect name for the show, NHL Line Shift. Conor, Mac, and me, Ian Cameron with you. We figured today we do a special NHL only show since NHL gets the spotlight all to themselves tonight. There's no baseball playoffs. There's no NBA just yet because they don't start, well, if you count preseason, but I don't. Any NBA regular season begins next week. And then, of course, football. No football tonight either. So it's all hockey tonight, and we have a very entertaining and interesting 5-game NHL card, Conor, tonight in NHL action. So we'll start with Montreal and Toronto, a renewal of a rivalry, and the two teams that played each other in the playoffs last year. Toronto minus 170 to minus 175, home favorites, 6 the total in this game. The Leafs starting this season, of course, without Austin Matthews, who will miss the first few games. So that means John Tavares will fill that spot on the top line center role. Some changes made for Toronto, some cheap off-season signings like Michael Bunting, Andre Kasha, Nick Ritchie, who will play on the top line tonight. I like a lot of them, the signings, because they all played well last year, and you didn't have to pay much money to get them. So, you know, it's bargain spending by the Leafs because they're strapped against the salary cap because of the big contracts to Matthews and Marner, Nylander, Tavares, all their big players. So, but these are guys that they didn't spend a lot of money to get, but they could be positive, impactful players for this team. The blue line stays intact. I like their new goaltending duo. Jack Campbell played great for them late last year. And, of course, Peter Mrazek, they pick him up as the number 1A, 1B goaltender, I guess you could say. The Montreal Canadiens to the Stanley Cup final last year. It's going to be difficult for them to achieve similar success, especially when you see the blue line is already questions coming into the year. Shea Weber's not coming back anytime soon. Joel Edmondson's hurt. A lot of shakeups on the blue line. You lose Jesperi Kotkaniemi to Carolina. He got swooped up by the free offer sheet. Montreal didn't match it. I like their top lines, Toffoli, Suzuki, and Cole Caulfield, who I think is going to have a big year for them. But there's a drop-off in their offense a little bit after that, and they're going to need Jonathan Drouin to show that he's put his mental health struggles behind him and can perform on the ice, because they're going to need his offense, and they'll need him to make an impact this year. I like the over in this game, but I liked it more at 5.5. I think Montreal is going to be more of a team that scores more goals but gives up more. Shaky defense. No Carey Price as well. For the first month of the year, it'll be Jake Allen and Samuel Montembeault in net for Montreal on a nightly basis. So I think they'll be a worse defensive team, still a good offensive team. And Montreal-Toronto, I could see this game being spirited, chippy, a few more penalties, playoff rematch type deal. And usually more penalties means more power plays and chance for more goals as well. So I like the over. I got 5.5 a couple days ago. It's 6 now. I still lean that direction. Nothing on the side. I lean Toronto, but I'm not laying minus 175 first game of the year. Conor, Mac, what do you like here at Montreal-Toronto?
Yeah, the Leafs, just a huge price, and they just last few years they're always seem to be laying kind of a number like this. But you mentioned it, no Matthews. Marner got banged up. I don't know if he's going to be in. Haven't heard word yet.
GTD.
But you mentioned, okay. I still don't love the Leafs. They were better last year. Their blue line was, and you talked about getting Mrazek, and their goaltending was just hideous the year before. They were so bad, but they were better last year. Canadians caught lightning in a bottle. You know, I didn't think they were very good, obviously, last year. But in hockey, you can get that playoff run like they did. You mentioned they paid Suzuki. I think they got a great, one line. But after that, the scoring will be tough. You mentioned it, the over, maybe because that defense will be a little leaky. because at times they struggle to score. Other than Suzuki and Toffoli, they struggled at times to score. The Leafs are just the ultimate regular season team for me. Obviously, it's opening night, and I'm not going to lay this either. At 6, I love seeing Leafs games 6.5, even 7s in years past. Sometimes I'd take their under or even their over when they used to, win 5-3 games. It wouldn't bother me at 6.5. I'm off the total here. I lean the Canadians. I kind of want a little bit better price than 155. I mean, you mentioned it. No Carey Price. How's that going to be for the Canadians? I don't know. Like you talked about, he's going to be out at least a month, probably longer. So nothing on this one for me. I mean, I want to, if I had to, I'd take the Canadians at the plus price, but I don't love it.
Yeah, I mean, Jake Allen's a good goalie, but again, you're filling the shoes of Carey Price, who was excellent in the playoffs. Of course, you, Conor, and everyone around you there in Las Vegas knows all too well how good Carey Price played against the Golden Knights last year in the conference finals. I don't know what they were calling it because it wasn't a true Western Conference final, but conference final, Final Four, whatever. But bottom line is Carey Price in that series that Montreal upended Vegas, they played he played very well, and obviously he's also away due to mental health, taking care of that, if you will. So we'll see how Jake Allen fares, but I do think though we'll see this game have a little bit more loose, especially I know they played a lot of tight, lower scoring games in the playoffs, but I could see this one being a little bit looser. And more than anything, I'm petrified with unders right now after what we saw last night. If you had Pittsburgh, Tampa Bay last night, Conor Mac, that was just a sickening beat.
That's a sickening beat. That third period was just insane. Oh, and to have it on the first game of the year, if you had that under. And like I thought, Vegas scored, but Seattle played great, kind of outplayed them in the first inning. It came to fruition where they got a few goals, some looks, tied it up, then Vegas wins it. So, I wish I was a little bit stronger on that over 5.5 last night. But you mentioned it. First, guys, they only play in the NHL, around 6, 7 preseason games. Maybe the legs aren't there and more penalties. Obviously the first kind of week, more penalties, a little bit sloppier play. So there could be a little more overs here.
And the enforcement of cross-checking. They're coming down harder on cross-checking, and they're not letting much go in that regard anymore. So there's going to be a lot more adjustment period for players. Like the small little minor cross-checks when you're hacking and whacking someone right in front of the net battling for a puck. They're not going to let that go this year quite as much. So that's probably going to lead to some more power plays as well, especially early in the year as players adjust. The next game is the first of the TNT doubleheader. First time ever NHL hockey on TNT. It'll be fascinating to see how it goes. The studio coverage. I know they're bringing in Wayne Gretzky, Paul Bissonnette, Biz Nasty from Spittin' Chicklets fame, Rick Tocchet. It's Anson Carter. Charles Barkley is making a guest appearance tonight on the NHL coverage on TNT, and he's a big hockey fan. So it'll be fun to watch and see. Hopefully TNT does a good job promoting the sport. And they got a great game to start it off. New York Rangers, Washington Capitals rivalry. We know the nasty business that happened last year between these two teams. Tom Wilson just on Pavel Buchnevich, who's not even with the Rangers anymore. And Tom Wilson and kind of embarrassed the Rangers, kind of made them look soft. They weren't willing to defend themselves. They weren't willing to defend their teammates. Well, now it's a different looking Rangers team in terms of upgrading the physical prowess, if you will. Ryan Reeves brought in here to this New York Rangers team, give them that pushback factor. You're not going to push us around anymore. Gerard Gallant, who is a very rugged physical defenseman in his playing career, now the head coach of the New York Rangers, and he's done a great job everywhere he's been. And what I recognize too with Gerard Gallant here, Conor Mac, is with Florida when he took over there, immediate improvement. It didn't
right away
take a year or two. Right away, the team got better and in the playoffs. Vegas, year one, an expansion franchise, and we think, oh, Gallant, tough spot to be in, right? Expansion franchise. Ho-hum, only to the Stanley Cup final. No big deal. In the very first year, he's just that kind of guy. He can notice what the problem is, fix it, make players better, make younger players better. I think his ability, Conor, as a development coach has been surreal. Look at how he's developed Marchessault and Riley Smith.
Oh, that was a big one, Marchessault.
All these guys in Vegas when he got there. he made them better because of his coaching. And I think he's going to do that with these Rangers players like Lafreniere, who's the number one pick for the Rangers. Capo Caco, who's kind of disappointed. Watch out for him. I think he has a big bounce back year offensively. They just got the contract extension done with Mika Zibanejad, which is huge. Obviously, one of their best players. Chris Kreider still here. The bread man, Artemi Panarin. This team ain't going to have a problem scoring goals, the Rangers, at least not on paper. They're going to be a very good offensive team. I like their young, improving blue line with Lindgren, Keandre Miller. Adam Fox is going to be a guy to watch out for. Norris Trophy candidate potentially as best defenseman. He has that kind of upside. I like their goaltending with Igor Shesterkin and Alexander Georgiev. That is a solid combination. So for me, the arrow's pointing up on the Rangers. I took them to win the Metro Division with the futures market a few days ago. And yes, Sammy Blais and Barclay Goodrow, of course, who was terrific for Tampa on that third line that is no longer there in Tampa. Goodrow was part of that. And now he's with the Rangers, Stanley Cup winning experience. No, I think the arrow's pointing up on the Rangers. I can't say the same about Washington. They lose Brendan Dillon on the blue line. You look at, Ovechkin's banged up. He's probably going to play, but, he suffered that injury at the end of preseason. Nicholas Backstrom's out to begin the year. They're still a very talented and dangerous forward group. Kuznetsov, Oshie, you got Anthony Mantha as well. But the blue line, I don't think it's as much depth there as they've had in the past. And you look at the goaltending. Shockingly, Samsonov didn't play great in the preseason, which was surprising, and he's the better of their goalies, yet they're giving Vitek Vanacek the start tonight in net for the Capitals, and Vanacek was very much up and down, inconsistent last year. So you factor in that for the Rangers, they kind of got their manhood beaten up, and basically, warts on that, how tough we are as a team and how much we stick up for one another. Washington kind of embarrassed them like that with the Wilson situation. Nobody really stuck up to him there. Now they're going to remember that. I think Gerard Gallant brings them that belief, that confidence, that team toughness. He's going to make them better. I think they've got goals in them like they did last year, but the issue last year was keeping the puck out of their own net. I think they're going to do a better job of that this year. The money's come in on the Rangers, and some of it is definitely mine. I like this New York Rangers team tonight at around even money against Washington. Connor, what do you think here, Rangers Capitals?
The Rangers definitely have the upside. You went through it. I mean, I like Fox, the bread man. All those guys are great. They did give up some bad goals like you talked about last year. When I see these two teams, I automatically think over. They play to the over. Something like 6 of the last 7. I think there could be goals here tonight. I know it's minus 120, even minus 125 at some spots, the 6, but I'd only look over in this spot. I like the Rangers. They took a lot of money. Just what you talked about, that's how I feel like they're coming up. I love Gallant. I love Ryan Reeves. It sucks to see him gone. Who doesn't love the Forcer guy kicking ass out there on the ice? But I wish him well with the Rangers, and they needed a guy like that, like you talked about. And the Capitals, a team I despise, but I always found great value taking them when in their prime a few years ago. Puck line, big lines with them, but they're on the downside, like you talked about. Injuries, Backstrom's out. He always seems like he's in and out, but they still have solid forwards. And I want to see Reeves and Wilson. We'll see if we can get a throwdown here in this one early. I'd love to see that. I like the Rangers. It's money's moving there, even some spots all the way to minus 110. I've seen some places, but I'll have a small bet on that and the over in this one. Rangers in the over.
Yeah, I like the over too. 3-0-1 to the over the last 4 head-to-head meetings with the Rangers and the Capitals. I think you can take, Connor, the if out of Reeves and Wilson throwing down. It will happen. I'm sure of it. It's been talked about. These guys know it's probably going to happen early in the game. First 5 minutes.
You do right away. Yeah.
Just get it done. First shift on the ice for both guys. Yeah. You know what's coming. Get it done. And then you move on, and then it's done, and for Wilson, he won't turn it down. And for Reeves, it's like, hey, this is a new Rangers team. You're not getting away with any shenanigans and pushing someone's head into the ice after a whistle. You're not doing that this year with us. No way.
Yeah. Too much fresh memory from that brawl from May. I think, they got to get it out of them early. Yeah.
And it could be a chippy game, and that's going to help the over because if there's more penalties, you know what that always means. Usually that's good for more goals as well. But great first game of the TNT era tonight, Rangers and Capitals. Looking forward to that. Next up, we've got Winnipeg and Anaheim. We've got the Winnipeg Jets minus 140. Road favorites, 5.5, the total shaded to the under. This is the one game I could see being that lower scoring type of game tonight. Anaheim's going to be goal challenged. Really, that's all there is to it. I mean, when I look at the forward group, I see Max Comtois, Ricard Raquel. I see definitely Drysdale's a guy they've got some hopes for to be a good young player for them and an offensive difference maker. But beyond, and Trevor Zegras, of course, who's going to have his first full year after just a little taste of the NHL with Anaheim last year in his rookie year. Trevor Zegras will be a very good player as well. And so many good young American-born NHL players now coming into the league. And Zegras for Anaheim's another one of them for sure. Of course, Matthews. There's many. I mean, the talent with American hockey, USA hockey, it continues to improve and get better, which is good to see. So Anaheim's going to have those guys to score, but what are they going to get from the second line and especially the third and the fourth line? There's not a whole lot there that you can really hang your hat on that, wow, this guy's going to get 10, 15, 20 goals for me this year. There just isn't, not in this lineup. So it's going to be a team that's going to have to play good defense, which they're capable of doing. I mean, they've still got largely the same, core of defensemen, Josh Manson, Hampus Lindholm, Cam Fowler. They've all been on this Anaheim team for years. They had liked the Jamie Drysdale to be one of their cornerstone defensemen for a long time to come. Kevin Shattenkirk brought in the offseason. And look, with John Gibson's on his game, and boy, when he's as good as any goalie.
Yeah, he can steal a game.
Anaheim in a game and steal a game. 100% right, C-Mac. That's exactly what he can do for you. But I still think Winnipeg is, I'm going to look toward the Jets here. Normally, I don't like road chalk, especially first night of the year. But you look at this Anaheim team, 6-22 was their record at home last year. Terrible home record. 6 wins all year for the Anaheim Ducks at home. And believe it or not, the Jets were a good road team the last couple of years. I know they're without Mark Scheifele, but they upgraded their blue line, which was their Achilles heel last year, the Jets. That's why they got beaten by Montreal. A blue line wore down, but they got Brendan Dillon from Washington, Nate Schmidt, former Golden Knight, former Canuck, as well on this Winnipeg team. Good veteran additions, stabilizing the blue line. Even with Scheifele out, you've got Nikolai Ehlers, who had a great year, Pierre-Luc Dubois, and who I think is going to have a bounce-back year for the Jets. Kyle Conor, not talking about another great American-born player, Kyle Conor.
Yes, he's a sniper Jets. For sure.
Wow, great speed, incredible release of the puck with his shot. There's a couple player props I like. I like Pierre-Luc Dubois. I think is going to have just wipe the slate clean. I think he's going to have a much different and better season now, more comfortable. Remember, he got jettisoned from Columbus in that trade when Laine went from Winnipeg to Columbus. He couldn't settle in. He's basically having a quarantine for like 2 weeks when he first gets to Winnipeg. And he just never got settled at all with the Jets. I think now a full training camp with the Jets under his belt, Pierre-Luc Dubois is going to have a much better year. He's too talented a player to be that bad again like he was down the stretch. So I expect him to be better. I think I like his overshots on goal tonight to score a goal. Like we talk all the time on the MLB show, home run props. The equivalent of that in NHL is goal scorer props. And I think you could look at that here for Pierre-Luc Dubois, certainly for Kyle Conor. I mean, with Scheifele out, that's going to put even more onus on him to find the back of the net for Winnipeg, and I think he will tonight. So I like props involving Conor, Dubois, and I also like the Jets here, minus 140. Lean under as well. Probably is a chance to be your lowest scoring game potentially of the night. Conor, what do you think here? Winnipeg, Anaheim.
Yeah, with Dubois. I mean, can he have a bounce back? I mean, he came in like he had to sit out, like you talked about, and then he came in. It just never got settled in. Yeah, I'm a big Kyle Conor fan. I mean, he's a definite prop guy I look at. And if Scheifele out, you got a little more guys playing center. Stasny's going to play a lot more minutes and play center maybe in that first line. So I like the Jets. The Jets were phenomenal for me last year. I bet them a ton. Little different scenario here, game one. Favorites on the road. I loved them last year. I think too many times they were plus money and they were a little bit underrated. I think they're a good hockey team. I don't love this one. One thing with the Ducks, I did it last year, was they're a team that faded late, especially the second and really the third period. Unbelievable first period team. So if you like the Ducks tonight, here at home. Maybe Ducks first period plus 110. I wish it was a little higher. I'd look at that. And maybe, I know it's minus 120, but the under 1.5. Ducks usually play well. It's early, and they've had a problem with fading late in games and losing. And that's where I could see the Jets winning this one 3-2, 2-1, 3-1, something like that. And I just don't love it, the 5.5. I mean, I lean under. It's minus 120. It's not my favorite look, but I lean that way. I wish it was a 6. But a lot of Duck games will be 5.5. We talked about Gibson, and they just have challenge. Like you talked about scoring, the Ducks. They just don't have a lot of goal scorers on that side. So I might take the Ducks first period. Haven't bet it yet, or maybe the under first period under 1.5.
And first period unders, you mentioned it. Liking first period under 1.5. It might be if you like unders at all, it might be worth your while to at least, like kind of what I've done with baseball with certain sides, certain money lines, certain baseball teams, do a first 5 full game split, do a first period full game split on unders. Because look at Pittsburgh, Tampa Bay last night, and you have this empty net shenanigans in the final,
Wild.
4 or 5 minutes of a game, and all of a sudden a clear sailing full game under gets blown up, and you have to rip up a ticket in disgusting fashion. Like unfortunately, Pittsburgh, Tampa under 6 full game bettors had to do last night with that game. It's always a risk you run these days because now coaches are pulling the goalie down by 3 goals instead of just down by 2 goals or 1 goal. Now they're doing it down by 3 goals. You're seeing it more often, and they're pulling the goalies earlier. It's not just the last minute or two of the third period anymore.
Minute 20, minute 30, yeah, it's 3-4 minutes. Yep.
So the thought process is, if you like unders, and you can't get to the point where you never bet unders, but you got to pick your spots now more than ever. But maybe you've split it up. Maybe you go first period full game split with the under, or just first period. But yeah, these first full game unders after what I saw last night in the Tampa game, they're going to be dicey in certain situations where you got these coaches that they don't give 2 shits. They're going to down by 3 goals with 5 minutes to go. They're taking the goalie out. And that's where an under can go to die in a hurry. And we saw that last night with the Lightning and the Penguins. So just bear that in mind for sure. All right, great stuff. Next up, we've got Vancouver and Edmonton here. A good Western Canadian rivalry matchup. Edmonton Oilers minus 180, home favorite, 6.5, the total shaded to the over. Certainly involving these two teams, you would expect, there potential to be some fireworks offensively, which is why the total is 6.5. Canucks got Elias Pettersson re-signed, and he's healthy, which is huge. That just wasn't the same team at all with Elias Pettersson when out last year when he got hurt for Vancouver. That's when they kind of struggled. And they bring in Conor Garland. The funny thing for Arizona is they're tanking, they're rebuilding, they're blowing up that team. And they basically got Vancouver from Arizona, the one really good player, or one of the few really good forwards they had. Conor Garland is a good hockey player, and it's a very nice addition for Vancouver. JT Miller had a down year last year, had a great year 2 years ago when the Canucks made the playoffs, but you can say that about most Vancouver players last year. Most of them had a down year. It was a year to forget. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong. They get COVID at the end of the year, the COVID outbreak with the team. But I think Miller will bounce back, and having Pettersson as his center on that second line again is going to help. Jason Dickinson, a nice addition. And keep an eye on this young Russian who played in the KHL already and I think is ready for NHL, and he was great in the preseason, really turned a lot of heads. Vasily Podkolzin for the Vancouver Canucks. They do indeed like his upside, so keep an eye on him. They get, as Don Cherry would always say, Oliver Lawsome Tossum. He always butchered that name. Oliver Ekman-Larsson brought in from the Arizona Coyotes. Nice, I think he's going to bounce back. He had probably the worst year he's had, but he's been a very good defenseman his whole career. I think he wanted out of Arizona. Teams kind of tearing it down. He wanted no part of that, and they gave him his wish. Send him to Vancouver, and I think he'll play better. Change of scenery, clean slate, fresh start. I think you'll see that help Ekman-Larsson this year. Quinn Hughes should be better. They bring in Tucker Poolman from the Jets. Thatcher Demko, watch out for him. A very good goalie, I think, and he got better, much better last year. And I think he's ready potentially to be a number one for this Winnipeg Jets team. And Another American. There you go, Thatcher Demko. And I failed to mention it in the last game. The best American goalie going today is probably Connor Hellebuck. And of course, he'll be in net tonight for the Winnipeg Jets. Gibson. So you've got a lot of definitely American netminders here that are playing at a very high level. And Thatcher Demko for Vancouver could be another one. Of course, for Edmonton, they're top heavy. Conor with Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Zach Hyman, a very good addition from Toronto. He's kind of like that grunt forward, the forechecks, gets the puck free for his line mates, does all the physical, hard, battle along the boards kind of work to get the puck free for Matthews and Marner in Toronto the last few years. Now he'll be doing that for McDavid and Draisaitl in Edmonton. And then the rest of the forward group looks all right. I mean, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins back. Yes, Puljujärvi. Kaylor Yamamoto. They bring in Warren Fogle from Carolina. The blue line, Darnell Nurse signing the big contract in the offseason. A lot will be expected out of him, but he played great. Tyson Barrie was a good fit. Duncan Keith, of course, they get him from Chicago. Obviously, not the Duncan Keith in his prime is gone, but he can still be effective in a smaller ice time capacity, and he's going to give you leadership in the dressing room, and a guy that's got multiple Stanley Cups, and that could help a young Edmonton team. The biggest question I have, Connor, with Edmonton's Mike Smith. This is an older goalie. He's now 40 years old. He's he had a great bounce back, resurgent year last year in net. Can he really do that again this season becomes the big question for Edmonton. And I got to think he's got nowhere to go but down in terms of his performance level this year. So I think Vancouver's a sneaky live dog. I think this could be one of the more improved teams in the Pacific Division, if not the entire Western Conference. I like the price you're getting. I don't trust Edmonton in this kind of price range against a capable team. You can get plus 170, plus 175 even in some spots with the Canucks. I think they're worth a bet of some kind at this number. And certainly from a totals perspective, I would be only looking over or past even at 6.5. Connor Mack, what do you think here with Vancouver, Edmonton?
Yeah, when these two teams meet, it just seems to, overs are the regular. It seems they're probably 8 out of 10 in 10 games they play on the normal. They got the unreal front line. You talked about McDavid, Draisaitl. Big favorites, though. They had an unreal preseason. They kind of kicked the Canucks' ass. I want to watch tonight. I'm with you. I think it's just I don't want to take the Oilers here in game one. I'm worried about Smith, too, at his age, the goaltending. And then they got Koskinen. I mean, I don't know. Same old there for me with the
Not a reliable
Oilers.
Backup after what I saw last year. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that, they didn't do anything there. So I know they re-signed Nurse. I like him. Nugent-Hopkins is okay. This is an Oilers team that I do like to bet the regular season. Maybe not tonight, game one, but throughout the year at home, they will score goals. I got to see it, though, to believe it, especially that defense, especially later on in the year. There'll be a fade for me, and always a fade in the playoffs. Until they can start winning, there's no way I'm going to touch the Oilers in the playoffs. But I think the Canucks get better as the year goes on. Well, I mean, this last year was such a disaster. The COVID outbreak, Hughes playing bad, Pettersson getting hurt. He's always banged around. Smaller guy, really good, but it's hard for him can he get through a whole season? It's difficult. Can Miller bounce back, after his disappointment? So I kind of like the Canucks as well. I might have a small bet on the night, little flyer, money line with them. I just can't lay this with the Oilers here. I know they looked well. They look really good, but I just think they're a regular season team, and I don't want to take them tonight.
And if you like Edmonton, you can always you should. I'd highly recommend that if you like Edmonton at all, go minus 130 in regulation instead.
Yeah,
with Edmonton, at least you get the price. Obviously, they got to win in 60 minutes in that case, but still minus 130, better than minus 190, or you could go minus 1.5 plus 115. But I think it's a close game here with these two teams here tonight, and it's worth noting too. Vancouver last year in Edmonton. They won the last two meetings in Edmonton, 6-3 and 4-1, and that was a Vancouver team ended the season very depleted.
Yes, yeah, and very inconsistent. That's the only thing. They got to get more consistent, Vancouver.
Yeah.
Last year was horrible, but if they consistently get better, but man, I got to see it because I still think I'm a little down on them. I gotta start to see it to believe it in them.
Yeah, and as far as props go, Hyman, I like betting good players in the first game with a new team to score a goal or points or whatever. And for me, that's Zach Hyman on Edmonton. They always want to make an impact, really show, hey, new team. I want to show them what I'm going to bring to the table on a nightly basis throughout the season. So Zach Hyman is probably a good player prop guy tonight in this game. For Vancouver, Pedersen's worth a look. Miller, like I said, maybe a flyer on Podkolzin. And Conor Garland too, same thing as I mentioned with Hyman, new player on a new team, looking to make an impact. So there's a couple prop suggestions for players I'd look at for shots, score a goal, those kind of props. All right, the final game, it's the second game of the TNT doubleheader tonight. Chicago Blackhawks, Colorado Avalanche. Should be a good one, especially after all the changes we've seen from Chicago in the offseason. Colorado minus 190 home favorites, 6 the total, shaded to the over. No Nathan MacKinnon tonight for Colorado. He tested positive for COVID-19, but asymptomatic, so it's going to be a very short-term absence for him, but it will keep him out of the lineup tonight, which means Nazem Kadri will move on up to the top-line center role for Colorado in between Gabriel Landeskog and Mikko Rantanen. So that's normally McKinnon's spot, but Kadri will have that spot. So for that reason, more minutes, more responsibility. You're going to be asked to do more offensively. So I think you're going to see Kadri, when you're a top-line center, that is. So you're going to see Kadri shoot the puck more, probably have a few more chances. I like Kadri's props tonight. Shots on goal, score a goal. Those kind of props for Kadri make sense to me in this game tonight. You've got Nichushkin, Comfer, Burakovsky on the second line. Alex Newhook going to be a regular on this roster this year on the third line, and they definitely have a lot of upside for him in terms of that left wing role on the third line. Darren Helm, an old veteran player from Detroit, but a very good, experienced player, played in the playoffs, two-way player, great skater. I like that addition on the fourth line. Their blue line, very good as, once again, Sam Girard, Cale Makar, Bowen Byram, a full year of him on the blue line. Watch out. He could be very special with his playmaking ability, skating ability. Watch out for him. Eric Johnson is finally healthy for the Avalanche, and on the blue line again, Ryan Murray, Jack Johnson. They will miss Devon Taves, though, who is going to miss the start of the season for Colorado on the blue line, and he's probably their best shutdown defenseman, arguably, and I think he is their best shutdown defenseman. So tough. So they could be a little leaky on the back end unless Darcy Kemper, who is the new starting goalie for Colorado, Philip Grubauer, shockingly decides to leave Colorado and sign that deal with Seattle and the Kraken, which means Colorado was left scrambling to fill that starting goaltender spot, and they went out and signed Darcy Kemper.
Yeah, real quick, I think that's a big heads. I mean, the Avalanche, this team is loaded, but the goaltending with Grubauer gone and Kemper, can he stay healthy? There could be problems between the pipes for this Avalanche team.
Yeah, and if Kemper gets healthy, you've got Jonas Johansson to fall back on. Well, the Buffalo Sabres was terrible, wasn't very good in a backup role when he got to Colorado last year, because Pavel Francouz, the other goalie on the roster, is on IR right now. So concerns there, definitely, in between the pipes for Colorado, especially if Kemper gets hurt. Chicago, what can we say, Connor Mack? They loaded up Tyler Johnson from the Lightning. He's going to center their top line. He's won Stanley Cups. It should be interesting to see how he fits in. He hasn't been away from John Cooper for his entire hockey life, and now he's finally on another team that Cooper doesn't coach. Cooper coached Johnson in the AHL, and they both went to Tampa Bay in the NHL together at the same time.
Yeah.
So he's finally getting coached by someone else. So interesting to see how that goes for Johnson. He'll play with Kane and DeBrincat. What a top line that could be. Kurashev, Jonathan Taves is back after not playing last year. So that's big for Chicago. Kirby Dach on the third line. Their center depth is all of a sudden excellent. Their blue line, they get Jake McCabe, a good shutdown defenseman. I know he was with Buffalo, but he actually was a solid player, and he'll be better with a better team. Seth Jones, of course, from Columbus. We know what he can bring. Well-rounded defenseman, skate, shoot the puck, good in your own.
Yeah, great. I think he's great.
Yeah, Calvin DeHaan, good stay-at-home defenseman. They get him. And, of course, Marc-Andre Fleury in a shocking parting of the ways with the Vegas Golden Knights, which is all the Golden Knights making that they parted ways with Marc-Andre Fleury. It's just almost like they shoved him out the door. It was
strange relationship there. Yeah. This whole time there, it was like they wanted him in, they wanted him out. Even the coaching change, just strange. Yeah.
Yeah,
Weird.
and Peter DeBoer was always rushing to give Robin Lehner that first crack in the net or that first opportunity. It's like he didn't really let Marc-Andre Fleury really have that free reign on the number one goaltender job as much as you would think a number one should. And it got to the point where they just, said enough was enough. They parted ways. It was just not handled well by Vegas management. They couldn't even pick up the damn phone and tell Marc-Andre Fleury, we've traded you. You had to hear it on Twitter. That's Bush. That's
Crazy.
terrible. I'd expect better from this Vegas organization than that, because I actually thought very highly of their GM, Kelly McCrimmon, their president and of operations there, George McPhee. I think those are good people. And to hear they let it go down like this with Marc-Andre
Yeah.
Fleury, very, very disheartening, very disappointing.
That's just crazy to me that when you're running a sports and that he doesn't get the call hours before, that he finds out, it's just not good. Not a good look.
It's not a good look. No, you got to at least say, Marc-Andre, guess what? We're trading you to Chicago. At least thank you for the years of service, like for the great years, for being one of the best goalies in the league for our hockey club last year. A little thank you, a little appreciation. Gosh, it's very poorly handled. I agree. And I can't wait till Chicago plays Vegas for the first time and Fleury's in there. You got to believe you would talk about a guy that wants to stick it to the man, if you will. Marc-Andre Fleury is going to want to do it that night against Vegas when he finally plays them again. But here he is in Chicago, and I think he's going to have a great season because he was on the fence. He was really bummed out that things ended in Vegas, and to the point where he was contemplating, hey, I like my family's comfortable here now in Vegas. We really don't want to uproot. I don't know if I want to keep on playing. And he had to think long and hard. Do I now, after the trade, maybe I just retire, after last year? But he said, no, I've got that burning desire to compete still. I still think I can play at a high level. And so he said, you know what? We're going to make this work. I'm going to play in Chicago this year. And now here he is. And I have no doubt with the motivation to still play, he's probably going to have a solid year for the Chicago Blackhawks. Definitely hoping for the best for Fleury. He's one of the best guys in the league. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yeah.
You won't find a better human in the league, better teammate. Everybody sings the praises of Marc-Andre Fleury, and rightfully so, for his entire career. One of the best teammates they say you'll ever have. Can't wait to see how he plays in Chicago. And look, he's going to upgrade their goaltending, which has been brutal at times the last couple of years. No question about that. I'm on Chicago here at a small plus price. I think they're worth a shot. It's not easy to win in Colorado. I get it. But, Colorado's going to have some defensive issues with no Devon Taves. McKinnon is going to be out tonight. They've got concerns about how well that back end can perform. And Darcy Kemper, can he give you the goaltending that Philip Grubauer, especially last year, gave this Colorado team? And I think Chicago at the price is worth the look here, because it's kind of a game for them where, hey, they want to get challenged by one of the best teams in the Western Conference, and we'll see if they stack up. But given the issues surrounding Colorado, I thought Chicago was worth a look, and I definitely like the over here, 6 in this game. I think it is higher scoring, especially with Colorado being without one of their best shutdown defensemen, Devon Taves. They will miss him definitely tonight in this game. And as far as props go, when I look at the board here in this game, like I said, Kadri for Colorado, no question. Shots on goal over to score a goal as well. I'd look in those directions. For Chicago, DeBrincat, I think, is going to have a big year. I could go for that. I could look toward him for shots and to score a goal tonight. Tyler Johnson, again, that angle of a player on a new team, wants to really put a good foot forward in that first game. So I could see Tyler Johnson making an impact, scoring a goal, getting over points, over shots on goal, those kind of bets as well. So probably DeBrincat, Johnson. Maybe you look at Kirby Dach as well, because I think now that he's fully healthy and on that third line, he may be able to generate some offense as well. And definitely Kadri stands out for sure as my favorite Colorado player prop person tonight in this game. Connor Mack, it should be a good one on TNT, the late night game, Chicago, Colorado.
Yeah, this should be a good one. The Avalanche without McKinnon obviously is huge. One of the best players in the league, fastest skaters there is. I don't love him at this price. I like what the Blackhawks have done. I mean, you talked about getting Fleury, Johnson at center. You mentioned Seth Jones, all this stuff. And without McKinnon, they've been able to play well last year and the years past when he's missed games. And I think the blue line's played well. The goaltending's been well, and I think the Avalanche have learned to win a low scoring games when they were kind of just high flying when McKinnon was younger, scoring a lot more. They would win 2-1 tight games. But I'm high on the Blackhawks. I love Fleury. I kind of homer, I guess. I think he's a great guy too. Great goalie, Hall of Famer, all that good stuff. They did him dirty, Vegas. I still like Patty Kane, all the stuff. I'm rolling with the Blackhawks too. I got them plus 180. A lot of places are 170 now, but I'm taking them first. Give me the dog here. Screw the Avalanche. They're going to win enough games. So give me the Blackhawks.
Yeah, and don't forget, we had two big underdogs on the Tuesday opening night card last night. One of them won outright, Pittsburgh, getting over plus 200 in that game when the line closed. And Seattle was a big dog and they lost, but actually both dogs would have covered the puck line, or plus 1.5 as well. Obviously, Pittsburgh won outright, but even Seattle in the loss, plus 1.5 goals cashed. So even Vegas winning last night, if you were one of those people, the bridge jumpers, as I like to call them. I know Paulie Howard always calls them that, the bridge jumpers, the ones that lay a little or lay a lot to win a little, and would have done that with Vegas minus 300 last night. You're biting your fingernails there at 3-3 in the third period. It's not worth it to lay those kind of prices. The very first night, first game of the season, where there's so much
first week or two.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing. Right now, betting hockey, and as the season goes on, hockey to me is the ultimate value, on dogs from night in and night out, and the best money maker I think there is. But you're right, these big favorites, and because a team like the Avalanche, they could drop a few. McKinnon's out there and still be a top team all year. But I'd be leery of some of these big favorites here. The first game, the first maybe 2 weeks of the year, till everything gets settled in.
Yeah, exactly. You think Tampa Bay, for as bad as when they were hideous, they were just not even in the game, and they didn't even show up last night. That was a no-show from the Lightning. But do you think that they're panicking that they lost game 1 of 82? No. You think Colorado's going to panic if they lose game 1 of 82 tonight and without McKinnon? No. So, you just can't be laying prices like this to me, with especially the teams that are just trying to pace themselves, teams that are thinking of the playoff success, get through the regular season. That's kind of the mindset I expect from Tampa at times, maybe Colorado at times, Toronto at times, Edmonton at times. We're talking about all these teams, especially tonight on the card, that are bigger favorites. No, it's about, just get yourself, ease into the season, see where you're at, and see where you're at is not minus 180 in my book. See where you're at. No,
just pass the game. Price. I wouldn't lay it. Yeah. I mean,
exactly. It's definitely too much of a risk. Exactly. So just some, we both bet hockey for years now. It's just some good sage advice that you don't want to blindly bet every underdog. We're not saying that either, of course, but see if you can make a case for a dog at a nice price. And if you can bet it, it's definitely not the worst thing you can do when it comes to especially early season NHL hockey. All right. Thank you to everybody in the chat. We'll round up everybody in the chat. Shout out to everybody. Evan L., Sam Calmer, Tony Cobb, Ross Pitts, Aaron Barlow, Carlos Luders, Abel Alvarez, Lucky Power, pocket quarterback Lamar Jackson, and we keep Marco Liu saying Vancouver Canucks, Sharon Pulliam, Queen Destroy, you, Greg Smith, North Ender, Brian Watson, Rem Most, Preston Burke, Big Smooth, Cindy plays horses. All right, very good. Hopefully you win with them. If that's indeed, if the name fits, hopefully you win with the horses.
She does. She's a regular on the horse channel.
Nice.
Cindy does.
Cindy does. Cindy plays and wins with horses. There you go. And Olaf, welcome in as well. Thanks to everybody. This was like a little test run for this NHL show. It's going to become more prevalent next month right here on Pub Sports Radio. Once baseball's over and we settle in with basketball and hockey full time, we will see this show in some kind of format, either live or we'll pre-record it, and it will broadcast on the channel during the day. But great stuff. Thanks to everyone for joining us. We will get to best bets. That doesn't go away. Best bets in just a second to wrap up the show. But first, messages from both Manscaped and Southtown 101. All right, Southtown 101. When you're in San Antonio, Texas, stop in. Great food, drinks, live music, DJs, karaoke. Southtown 101 in San Antonio. Manscaped, promo code Pub Sports. Of course, you get 20% off your purchase using the promo code Pub Sports. Lawnmower 4.0 and any Manscaped product on the website, manscaped.com. Get 20% off the purchase using the promo code Pub Sports. And mybookie.ag. Make sure you sign up for an account. The convergence of sports, it's here. It's October, it's November. It's the height of the year where you've got football, wall-to-wall, basketball, NBA next week, college basketball next month, hockey season starting, of course, last night. It's all here. Get involved. Mybookie.ag. Sign up for an account with mybookie.ag. If you have the option to use Bitcoin, it is accepted as one of your currencies for deposit as well. So check out mybookie.ag, sign up for an account, use the promo code PubSports. All right. NHL Line Shift. We appreciate you guys tuning in. We will have this show, of course, coming on more regularly throughout November. Now, tomorrow we will be back to MLB, of course, closing time. It's Game 5, Giants-Dodgers, but Thursday, Friday, there'll be primarily MLB closing time baseball shows, but we'll throw out some hockey and football as well at the end of those shows.
Definitely.
Conor Mack, by the way, someone asking, Conor, are you Canadian, buddy? Might as well be one because he loves his hockey, loves to have a good time, loves drinking, all that stuff.
I'm not Canadian.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
honorary with my good friends.
Yeah. There you go. Honorary Canadian. He acts like one. That is for damn sure. No doubt about it. All right, Conor Mack, let's have at it. We got 5 NHL games tonight. What do you like for best bet?
Well, I told you I like the Rangers, but I'm for sure on the over 6. I know the juice is getting up high. I got my minus 120. It's 125. But I'll give you my other one because I'm on it. It's just lost a little bit of value, the dog and the Blackhawks. I'm on it. I got plus 180. Now some places it's 165. I know it's dropping, but I still see a little value with the Blackhawks as a dog tonight to take them. So those are my two. Rangers, Caps over, and Blackhawks plus 180. Now 165. You can still get it.
All right, there you go. A little double.
Double action.
There. Rangers,
double barrel.
Capitals over 6 and Chicago plus. You can get the best price now, 165 in that range right now. Best bet for Conor Mack. Chicago plus 165 and New York Rangers, Washington Capitals over 6. And my best bet's going to be the New York Rangers. Just best price now, minus 105. There's some minus 106, minus 105 out there at a couple spots with the Rangers. I like it. This is a bet on team for me coming into the year. And I'm going to put it to the test right away against a Washington team that I don't think they're going to fall off the cliff, but I do think they're going to regress a little. And keep in mind, if you look at some of those advanced numbers like expected goals for and against and those margins and some of those, advanced stats that I'm starting to look at more and more when I cap NHL, Washington was below average in those categories last year, and yet they still made the playoffs. It means they're a little bit fortuitous, a little bit, fortunate to maybe have the kind of season they had last year. They gave up a lot of good quality, high danger chances as well last year. And that concerns me. That's like playing Russian roulette. If you keep playing that style, you're going to get burned for it eventually.
Yeah. I like the Rangers. It's good for the league when the Rangers are good. So high expectations. I like Gallant. Can't wait for the game. It should be huge on TNT.
Yeah, exactly. And book it right now. We will see Ryan Reeves versus Tom Wilson tonight in that game. It should be great. Definitely New York Rangers minus 105 against the Washington Capitals. That is my best bet for this NHL Line Shift show right here on Pub Sports Radio. And that'll wrap it up. Thanks to everyone in the chat for joining us. Hit the like button on the way out if you haven't already.
Yeah.
And we will be back tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, MLB closing time. We'll get Ski, we'll get Sharpie back in the house, and we'll get ready for a once in a life. You love games like this, even though if they're tense. Game 5, do or die. Winner take all. Winner gets the Atlanta Braves in the NLCS. We've got Giants, Dodgers. Game 5, and we will tee it up for you tomorrow right here on the MLB Closing Time Show. For Conor Mack, I'm Ian Cameron. Let's lace up those skates. Let's hit the ice and cash some tickets tonight, and we'll see you again tomorrow on Thursday for the MLB Closing Time Show right here on Pub Sports Radio.